Hello, how's everyone doing this time? I hope everyone is doing great. Immersed in the joy of celebration? Yes, I'm talking about the Festival of Colors. First of all, a very happy Holi to everyone. This festival is celebrated all over the world, bringing enormous joy in the heart, prosperity in nature, and marking a new beginning. So, my dear friends, this is also a time where you can start your new beginning, ending all your constraints, all your hindrance towards a better path. This is a time to embrace change, since change is the only constant in our life. As soon as we accept it, we will realize old beliefs do not lead you towards your new goal, towards your new path, towards your new ambition. There's a lot to learn from this story. If you just close your eyes and grasp all the inner meaning the story wants to say, all those valuable messages that the story wants to convey, you'll get so many things to learn from this and get it into your life, to embrace change, to embrace happiness, to bring happiness and peace in your life. So let's just see what happens when Haw started to break his old beliefs. He hadn't found any cheese yet, but he ran through the maze. He thought about what he had learned. Now he realized that his new beliefs were encouraging new behavior. He was behaving differently than when he kept returning to the same cheeseless situation. He knew that when you change what you believe, you change what you do. You can believe that a change will harm you and resist it, or you can believe that finding new cheese will help you and embrace the change. It will depend on what you choose to believe. So, my dear listeners, what you chose to believe. Once again, Haw wrote on the wall, when you see that you can find and enjoy new cheese, you change course. When you see that you can find and enjoy new cheese, you change course. Haw knew he would be in better shape now if he had dealt with the change much sooner and left Cheese Station C earlier. He would feel stronger in body and spirit, and he could have coped better with the challenge of finding new cheese. In fact, he would have found it by now if he had expected change rather than wasting time denying that the change had already taken place. He used his imagination again and saw himself finding and savoring new cheese. He decided to proceed into the more unknown paths of the maze and found little bits of cheese here and there. Haw began to regain his strength and confidence. As he thought back on where he had come from, Haw was glad he had written on the wall in many places. He trusted that it would serve as a marked trail for him to follow through the maze if he ever chose to leave Cheese Station C. Haw just hoped he was heading in the right direction. He thought about the possibility that Hem would read the handwriting on the wall and find his way. He wrote on the wall what he had been thinking about for some time. Noticing small changes early helps you adapt to the bigger changes that are yet to come. Noticing small changes early helps you to adapt to the bigger changes that are to come. By now, Haw had let go of the past and was adapting to the present. He continued on through the maze with greater strength and speed. And before long it happened, when it seemed like he had been in the maze forever, his journey, or at least this part of his journey, ended quickly and happily. So you see, when you continue through the new path, it seems to be much easier to conquer it. Haw proceeded along a corridor that was new to him, rounded a corner and found new cheese at Cheese Station N. When he went inside, he was startled by what he saw. Piled high everywhere was the greatest supply of cheese he had ever seen. He didn't recognize all that he saw, as some kinds of cheese were new to him. Then he wondered for a moment whether it was real or just his imagination. until he saw his old friend Sniff and Scurry. Sniff welcomed Haw with a nod of his head, and Scurry waved his paw. Their fat little bellies showed that they had been here for some time. Haw quickly said his hellos and soon took bites of every one of his favorite cheeses. He pulled off his shoes, tied the laces together and hung them around his neck in case he needed them again. Sniff and Scurry laughed. They nodded their heads in admiration. Then Haw jumped into the new cheese. When he had eaten his swirl, he lifted a piece of fresh cheese and made a toast. Hooray for the change! As Haw enjoyed the new cheese, he reflected on what he had learned. He realized that when he had been afraid to change, he had been holding on to the illusion of old cheese that was no longer there. So what was it made him change? Was it the fear of starving to death? Haw smiled as he thought it certainly helped. Then he laughed and realized that he had started to change as soon as he had learned to laugh at himself and at what he had been doing wrong. He realized the fastest way to change is to laugh at your own folly. Then you can let go and quickly move on. So my dear listeners, remember, the fastest way to embrace change is to laugh at your own mistakes, to embrace your own mistakes and say, yes, it's okay. We are here to make mistakes and learn from them, but we should not keep repeating them. It's in our habit, like we will do mistakes. If we try new things, mistakes gonna happen, but we need to learn from them. Haw knew he had learned something useful about moving on from his mice friends Sniff and Scurry. They kept life simple. They didn't overanalyze or overcomplicate things. When the situation changed and the cheese had been moved, they changed and moved with the cheese. He would remember that. Haw had also used his wonderful brain to do what little people do better than mice. He envisioned himself in realistic detail, finding something better, much better. He reflected on the mistakes he had made in the past and used them to plan for his future. He knew that you could learn to deal with change. You could be more aware of the need to keep things simple, be flexible, and move quickly. You did not need to overcomplicate matters or confuse yourself with fearful beliefs. You could notice when the little changes begin so that you could be better prepared for the big change that might be coming. He knew he had to adapt faster, for if you do not adapt in time, you might as well not adapt at all. We have to admit that the biggest inhibitor to change lies within ourselves, and that nothing gets better until we change ourselves. Perhaps most importantly, he realized that there is always new cheese out there, whether you recognize it at the time or not, and that you are rewarded with it when you go past your fear and enjoy the adventure. He knew some fear should be respected as it can keep you out of real danger, but he realized most of his fears were irrational and had kept him from changing when he needed to. He didn't like it at the time, but he knew that the change had turned out to be a blessing in disguise, as it led him to find a better cheese. He had even found a better part of himself. You know, when we set out for new adventure, we also find a new us, a new self of ourselves. We didn't discover this before, but moving into a new path also brings a new inner self from inside of us, isn't it? Haw thought about going back again to G Station C to see if he could find his friend Hem, assuming that Haw could find his way back there. If he found Hem, he thought he might be able to show him how to get out of his predicament. But Haw realized that he had already tried to get his friend to change. So remember, we can't change anyone else. The first one to bring change is from within us. We can't move anyone if they don't want to change. Hem had to find his own way, beyond his comforts and past his fears. No one else could do it for him or talk him into it. He somehow had to see the advantage of changing himself. He knew he had left a trail for him and that he could find his way if he could just read the handwriting on the wall. He did what a good friend has to do. He went over and wrote down a summary of what he had learned on the largest wall of Cheese Station N. He drew a large piece of cheese around all the insights he had become aware of and smiled as he looked at what he had learned. Change happens. They keep moving the cheese. Anticipate change. Get ready for the cheese to move. Monitor change. Smell the cheese often so you know when it is getting old. Adapt to change quickly. The quicker you let go of old cheese, the sooner you can enjoy the new one. Change. Move with the cheese. Enjoy change. Savor the advantage and enjoy the taste of new cheese. Be ready to change quickly and enjoy it again and again. They keep moving the cheese, but if you are ready to embrace the change, you keep enjoying it again and again. Let me know what you understood from this part of the story, and we'll be listening to the end in the last half. See you by the time. Have a good day.